Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider podcast. No, I'm not Vu Nguyen. He's in Wimbledon, living his fantasy to be a ball boy, I think. At least that's what we were joking with him. I'm here with Rob Sass, the Panorama editor, and Bob Miller, co-owner of At Speed Motors. We got some interesting topics we're going to talk about. I want to give a shout out to Robert Forsyth, who does our control. He's in the room with us. You can't see him, but usually he's in his own little office. But when I came in this morning, he said, "We got a problem. We have no video." And I thought, as much as I want to do a black edition,
problematic. Have you seen us?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe that's a better idea.
We'll get a lot of thumbs down on the YouTube version if we have no video. And so he's been trying for the past hour to get something rigged up, and that's exactly what we did. We got something rigged up. Bogdan helped with his camera, and this is. And I wrote in the description of the last podcast that we're kind of back to normal. But like you noticed, Bob, when you first came in, these aren't our regular Telefunken microphones.
Right.
These are rented because of the misunderstanding we had of how long it would take for the pods to come back. They're coming back Friday, hopefully. Cross our fingers, and we get back to regular sound.
This is the Apollo 13.
I really feel like somebody in the last podcast says you need to get a bigger table, and now we've managed to cram more stuff in this little space. Yes, it kind of feels like the not Apollo 13. Let's call it Apollo 11.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I can bring my kids
disaster.
and my dogs in here. Then the next
You
room.
do?
You really want to use up the oxygen faster.
Yeah, Ethan, the Greyhound, is in the office this week.
He could make a guest appearance.
Very nice dog. He doesn't act like a dog. I'm more like a cat.
Only dog with launch control.
Yes, he's a very fast dog.
Yeah.
We were talking about doing some 0 to 60 times of Ethan, or 0 to 30.
0 to 45.
45
in 3 strides.
Do that. I might be fighting with my I-14 to beat him.
Yeah. Hey, well, he certainly beat a 944 Turbo. Just
That's
crush
true.
it.
All right, so normally talk about what we did last week. Anything interesting, Porsche-wise?
Well, I mean, I will have to say, At Speed had in the shop one of 15 924 Carrera GTS Club Sports, 15 in the world. And it recently sold. The new owner sent it to us to look over, and it's a good thing he did, actually. The right rear axle was essentially backing out of its bolts were all loose. And then I got a chance to drive this incredible machine. But you and I will talk about that, I guess, later.
Yeah, I think we're going to do a video with Damon. We're going to compare the 944 Turbo Cup against the I-24 Carrera GTS and see what though. So you have one that's a hand-built, bespoke race car from Wystock they built, and the other one is I'm going to say a little bit more mass-produced car that they built for a series. So it's still a very rare car. You don't see Turbo Cups every day by any means. But it'll be, I think it'll be a neat comparison of what those 7 years was it?
Yeah, 1981 to 1988.
Yeah. How much Porsche changed, especially when it came to the turbos and the water-cooled cars. So I'm excited. I've never seen I've seen Carrera GT 924s, but I've never seen a GTS. I don't think up close.
Well, and then a Club Sport. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
This is the one that has the plexiglass headlights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The ultimate,
plexiglass
probably the
headlights.
ultimate transaxle car, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, again, the transaxle guys are going to jump up and down out there because there's all kinds of cool cars, but it certainly ranks up there as one of the top five.
You know, I wonder when we're going to see people starting to do like 944 based builds, you know, because if you can do that, I mean, that car's got such a great look with the vents in between the headlights, you know, the plexi headlights, the kind of crude but really cool rear fender flares, just neat cars.
I mean, honestly, Rob, to me, the 944 Turbo is still one of the more beautiful Porsches ever
Without a
made.
doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's just the Carrera GT is just slightly more aggressive looking with, you know, those 4 vents in between the headlights, like a 924 Turbo.
Right. And then the scoop, of course.
Scoop.
on the-
Yeah, just, I love it. And I do like, I mean, obviously, The 944, the fender blisters are much better resolved and what is that? But I like the way they look on a Carrera GT with that separate.
And the hood scoop was actually functional.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the American cars from the 80s
Right.
that
Hoses.
didn't go anywhere.
Right.
This actually went to the intercooler.
Intercooler, yeah.
Yeah, it was all part of functional design. A friend of ours, Rich, is building a 944 GTR replica or tribute car,
Oh, okay.
and he's going legit. I mean, he's found the lollipop seats.
Oh, wow.
He found the fuel refiller. It's pretty cool.
He
He's
came by the shop, actually.
Yeah, he told me to
so
look
I,
at this
yeah,
car.
I invited him down. He's taking pictures of things he's never seen before. Because in your lifetime, when will you ever see a club sport?
He's
Ever.
starting with just kind of like what the factory did. He's starting with the base of a 924 turbo.
Yeah.
So it's
That's cool.
It'll be interesting.
Which are
to
still
build.
relatively cheap to pick up.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
compared to what other Porsches have gone up.
Yeah.
And how often do you see them at events? At 24 Towers are pretty rare birds.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what stuff would be to do, 'cause as I understand it, the front fenders, although on a 924 Carrera GT, although they look very similar to a 944,
Right.
they're not related. They're not the same fenders.
No, I mean, the GTS it's all plexi /
Yeah.
polymer.
But the shape's not even the same.
No, it's quite a bit more aggressive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait for this comparison. That'll be fun to
it
watch.
should be a lot of fun.
So with the
Well, and actually, we need to bring a Greyhound because this is yet another car that he can beat easily 0 to 45.
It all depends on the surface too. Low grip surface, as you saw in the video that we
Right.
looked at, on sand or gravel,
Right.
you can't quite put the power down. But
Right.
high grip surface,
He's
Ethan
yeah.
Greyhound was a race dog,
yes.
and luckily he was not a fast race dog.
No,
So he was rescued after a few races.
right. He was who's the Russian F1 driver?
Mazepin.
Yeah, Nikita Mazepin. Yeah, that was him in racing life.
Mazepin of the Greyhound world, right?
Sadly, we looked at his videos.
Ethan's dad wasn't friends with Putin, so.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's it'll be a good comparison.
Yeah.
So I did let's see, Cars and Coffee, which was a good time. Shout out to Will. I'm gonna bring you a Tech Tactics T-shirt. I already have one set aside. I've been asking for a Tech Tactics T-shirt, even though he's a BMW guy. We'll convert him over one day.
I mean, that actually, Manny, that's a really interesting story. This is a guy that started at Cars and Coffee on his own, and he eventually quit his job. And every single Saturday, this guy is there.
Yep.
Rain, shine, snow, tornado, it doesn't
And he
matter.
does it by himself.
By
There's
himself.
no volunteers,
It's
no
incredible.
helpers, and he's very polite but firm for the nitwits who decide to rev their engines.
Right.
Or
Mopar people.
you know,
Yeah, I mean-
well, unfortunately, it's all types of people. It's just
Mustangs and Mopar.
it's all people who I guess they think that we've never heard an engine rev in a parking lot full of car enthusiasts.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like anybody's cheering them on. Everyone looks like almost in disgust at the people because it's so easy to lose these lots.
Yeah.
And he's had this lot for 12 years, which is testament to Will. So, so we did Cars and Coffee. And then Sunday, Chesapeake Region had a fundraiser, a toy run to Sinai Hospital for the kids division. That was actually covered in the news. Region President Ron Farr did a great job of organizing it. I think they raised like $11,000.
You had
Plus-
30 cars, didn't you?
Yeah, 30 cars. Plus, they had a bunch of toys. These were toys they specifically listed that the kids would play with, and then the money's going straight to the kids for computer games, things to, obviously no one wants to be in the hospital, but they're trying to make it as comfortable as possible for the kids by giving them things that'll keep them entertained. And the kids came out and they sat in the cars, and it was definitely a good PR for PCA and the hospital as
Oh,
well.
that made their week. That's incredible, dude.
And then we did a tour afterwards, about a 40-minute drive, where my wife said, "You're 10 miles away from it, and you're going to take an hour to get there." And I said, "Yes, that's the fun of doing tours. We've never taken the back roads, a very long way." And we did that, and when we had a Mission Barbecue catered lunch. You know, I found out, which I didn't know, because there's a Mission Barbecue from Morgan Ridge, about 5 minutes away, Hunt Valley. And so when we were in line getting the food, I said to the guy, I'm like, "I guess it was a short drive for you, like 5 minutes, right? Hunt Valley." He goes, like, no, he goes, all catering comes from Glen Burnie,
Oh my gosh.
which is about maybe 40 minutes away.
Right.
And I did not know that. I thought every restaurant did their own catering and set up, but no. So when we do the open house, it looks like the food must all come from the Glen Burnie location. So did you do anything interesting, Rob?
I installed a set of new cocoa mats. That's about as interesting as it got this weekend.
Did you do a video how to do that?
Yeah, but I should have. I'm sorry.
It's very technical.
It really is. But, especially when, there are no fasteners or, mine just have the rubber nibs on the back and they stay in place that way. But those things do look really good.
In which car did you put it?
996.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. And the packaging is even fantastic. So, always exciting when the
I haven't gotten
mats show up.
cocoa mats yet. Actually, in the Porsches, I have just regular factory mats. I did buy for the 914. I think Suncoast had them on sale. The 914 commemorative floor mats.
Oh,
We
yeah,
just said
nice.
914 on the side with typical Porsche, very understated.
Well, you're just covering your original factory mats, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of, because they are original, doing anything that'll damage them. And so now I do have Porsche factory mats, but they're not the original mats are underneath that. But in the BMW, I have WeatherTech, and I like that a lot.
Those
You
are,
just-
I mean, if you drive the car year round and you're getting muddy, slushy, feet.
Just
on
take it
them,
outside, you
yeah,
hose it off,
hose
and it's clean.
They fit well. They're nice.
And the owner is WeatherTech is a big sports car, and David McNeil, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I was just looking up. He owns a Ferrari GTO.
250
60
GTO.
years,
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone like Don that they were worth
Business
like
is good.
80 million. He was blown away. He didn't understand. He looked at it. He's like, it looks like a $100,000 car. I said, well,
was.
I said,
Each his own.
I said, well, I said,
1980.
Yeah.
it's like art. It's what you think it's worth. That's what people pay for it. So whether it's worth 70, 80 million, that depends how much
Showman
people want to
Jackson
pay.
Pollock.
That was
Sure.
funny.
I mean, if you have enough money, what do you spend it on?
He goes, it's probably slower than a GT3, and I said, it probably is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, we're talking. That's not why
It's
people are
run
buying
on
it.
36. So yeah.
It's a whole different reason why people buy the car. But anyways, while Robert was setting this up, and everything, I went outside, and Denise, our I guess she's CFO now. She got promoted, and Melanie, our events manager. They were talking about the topic of how to get younger people in the club. At which point Denise told Melanie she's not young. Melanie's like 40, I think.
Oh, God.
Ouch. Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah. And said Melanie was a little bit shocked at that. It reminds me. The funny thing is that's what we're talking about today on the podcast is entry level Porsches, and because Rob is his I guess is the August
Yeah.
editor column.
Yeah.
It's basically about that about Porsche building an entry level car. And so Rob and I were talking about this yesterday about we remember when Porsche was not in so great financial times, and how many times entry level cars have saved them, bringing cars that younger people can afford, and that trickles down because that means when they go for sale, that means even younger people can afford them. You certainly don't want a car where young people can't even buy a 1 or 2 year old car because it's still too expensive.
Yeah.
And
Well, and then from a corporate standpoint, how do you reach those young people? You don't just throw out a product. Everybody has to know it's there.
so Porsche obviously right now financially is doing phenomenal. They don't have enough room in their production line, probably for an entry level car. Everything they make is essentially sold out. Short of building another factory or buying another factory to build them, I don't think the an entry level car is on their radar. Do you, Rob?
I don't think so either. We've all had sort of under the radar conversations with people about it. And no, I don't. But as we all know, what goes up keeps going up. The global economy is never going to correct or cool down. At least that seems to be the assumption on a lot of fronts. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's unfortunate. We actually broke out the handy inflation calculator and looked at what Porsche prices in the past would be if they were adjusted for inflation, so that $6,500 911T from 1970. Care to guess what that equates to in 2023 dollars?
Well, unfortunately, I was prepared. I read your little write-up, but it actually ends up being $51,000.
Yeah.
You know, and so you think about that. That was their entry level.
Yes.
No, actually, that wasn't. It was the
Well,
912 that was the entry level because
Well,
the 911 was too expensive.
No,
Remember?
1970 would have been the 914.
Well, 1970,
Yeah,
yeah, 14,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But originally, when the 911 came out, it was too much of a jump.
Yeah.
Right.
So then they were going to lose the people who could afford 56s, so they
Right.
brought the 912 out.
Yeah, but but I mean the the very first sort of entry level car, the Speedster, its famous under $3,000 base price, that equates to about $33,000 or $34,000 in today's money.
And look, now, I mean, that's a great example, because now look at what a Speedster is worth.
Right.
That was their entry level. Let's just get it out there. Somebody will buy it.
Right.
Please.
Right.
And then-
Somebody will tolerate the side curtains,
Right.
and the hard seats, and all that stuff. Yeah. 15 years later, a 914 was about $3,500 or $3,600, and that's kind of high 20s, low 30s in today's money. That's a market that I don't think Porsche has any interest in ever looking at again. Yet there is constant hand wringing about the aging owner base of Porsche. They want to see younger people buying new Porsches, and the fact is, those people are all at Toyota and Nissan dealerships. They're shopping new Zs, they're shopping GR86s, because those are the cars that are that are in the high 30s, mid 30s, high 30s, even low 40s, an area where Porsche does not care to go anymore.
And I think the Porsche is still on their radar. It's an aspirational brand.
Right.
And it's something that they hope to be able to. But at what age will they finally be able to afford one? How old were you when you bought your first Porsche?
Again, I'm a little different. So
What are you the heir to Coca-Cola or?
no. I was willing to spend all of my money on a car, and so
Well, that's part of
I was 24 years old, and I made about $30,000 a year, and I bought a $30,000 car, and so it was absolutely financially insane, but it was worth it to me. So
Well, I got you beat. I was 18,
oh, good for you.
and I got bit by the Porsche bug, and nothing was going to cure it until I got a Porsche, and I bought a 5-year-old 924.
Oh, okay.
And I got a loan,
Yeah.
and could I have bought a Honda or something? Sure, would have made a lot more sense.
Right.
In looking back, 50-some-year-old Manny would have probably told 18-year-old Manny, "This is a terrible idea.
Right. What in the heck
To buy
are you
this
doing?"
because
Right.
it's you're at the most of what they call unconscious incompetent. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
It probably saved me, because if I would have known what I known, I would have never bought the car, because it was a very impractical car.
Sure.
But
But you were doing it out of passion.
sure, yeah, I wanted a Porsche, and the 924 was the entry level car from Porsche, and I couldn't afford a new one because by the time I bought this, the 944s were out. So the gap was getting wider and wider. So a used one was what I bought.
What about you,
Rob?
Rob?
What's your?
Well, I've got a similar story and a very different story. I was 21 and I bought a 72 911S for $6,500. So it's another, I'm an old guy now, and back then stuff was cheaper and I did that. But I've got a better story. About 7 years ago, a guy named Jesse that I worked with at Haggerty, probably 26 years old at the time, young guy, fell in love with the 996 Turbo. And back then, he went out and bought a very nice, I think a 40,000 mile
40,000, I was gonna say.
car for $37,000. It wasn't that long ago. This is not ancient history.
Yeah.
But fast forward, and that car is probably worth double what it is right now. And the Jessies of the world are priced out of it. So I don't know what's happened even in the used car market over the last few years, but it's all conspiring, I think, to push younger people out of the Porsche world. And I think that if PAG wants to do something other than hand wringing about the fact that their ownership base is in their late 50s, they need to build a new entry level car.
The interesting thing is, like, if you guys were to design, quote unquote, an entry level car, what would it be? And I'll answer that real quickly on my side.
Okay.
The entry level car would be a car devoid of nannies, devoid of most of the creature comforts, lightweight, not a super complex engine, and then good brakes. And it's cheap to build. I would think that it would be pretty widely accepted, but I think the guys that are going to go after that are the performance guys like me that love that kind of lightweight, great driving car. And I don't need Apple Play. I don't need, nav or all that kind of stuff. It'd be nice to have ABS just for the rain, but that's about it. And so you can pile very little in the car. It's cheap, quote unquote, but it's entry level.
Yeah. Of course, any manufacturer will tell you the absolute worst people to listen to about any new product are the enthusiasts. Because we all say we want that car, and they offer something like you choose your, 968 Club Sport, Carrera T, whatever it is.
RS
It comes
America.
without those things, and the first thing people do is they add those things back in.
Right.
Or journalists write about how slow the car is, how it's not a real Porsche. I mean, look at the past history, the 914, the 924, the Boxster even, how much grief that got when that wasn't fast enough, and this and the other. So we say, we want this kind of car, but when it pushed them to shove, people always complained about it. When Rob and I were talking about it, I said it would have to be a shared platform, and I doubt, Rob brought up Toyota, and while that makes perfect sense, I highly doubt Porsche is going to get in bed with
Well,
Toyota.
I mean, simply because BMW is doing it with the Supra, but I mean, one of the things.
But don't go with Volkswagen, is what they're going to go with.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
the Golf,
Or something that's going to make economic sense, because Porsche wants to make money. They're not going to do it just to make enthusiasts happy. So it's probably going to have a VW or Audi, and something that's that they don't have to put a whole lot of R&D into.
You can take any transverse front-wheel drive setup. I mean, going back to the Fiat X19, that was the formula for making a mid-engine car, was take a front drive setup and mounted midships. But I agree with Manny. That's the most likely thing. We threw out a couple of things over the last couple of years. I agree they wouldn't go with Toyota, but it really would be tantalizing to take a GR86, and it's a car that's already designed for a flat 4 engine, and Porsche has a few of those hanging around, and basically have a modern day.
what would be your price point? What would you shoot for?
For an absolute top end 39.9, which was the Boxster price back in 1997, but as we noted in the article, in today's money, that's about the 60 grand or so that a new 718.
So I think the lowest price Porsche you can buy right now is the Macan, the base Macan,
Yes.
not the 718.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when last time I looked. And
That's near 40s, isn't it? Yeah, like 34 or something like that.
maybe I'd say low 50s out the door.
Right, out the door.
But all I hear is people complain and saying, don't ever get the base Macan, it's too slow, it's not a real Porsche engine. But I read this stuff and I chuckle because
it's a good.
as people, and I always say to people, listen, what this person thinks is fast. I said, the worst thing you can do is listen to journalists, because they're used to driving these really fast cars, and of course they're going to poo-poo the poor little base model. But the base model sometimes are the most fun, and depending what you're going to do with the car. 90% of your driving isn't really performance in the sense that you're looking to get every horsepower, but you want to have fun driving it.
Right.
The base player 718, we drove the base 718.
Yeah.
I was blown away. I
Yeah.
remember telling Damon, anyone who complains about the base theme and the base came in our Boxster has never driven one.
Right.
Because this car is fast as heck.
Yeah,
It
sure.
would keep me happy.
And
Yeah.
it handles like
Oh,
you
yeah.
just can't
Delightful to
even believe
drive.
it.
And I thought the
Came
base
in-
Macan did just as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, is it as fast as a GTS? Of course not. But your checkbooks are looking a little bit nicer without having to pay GTS payments.
Remember the base Panamera that we had here?
Oh yeah, it's all,
It was great.
rear-wheel drive only.
Yeah.
It was the 300 horsepower, I think. But you could actually have fun driving this car. The turbo was just so stupid fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just you could only do launch control so many times,
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay, it's starting to get boring.
Greyhound faster's just crazy fast.
The Turbo S was just it would hit 60 so fast. You were like, what just happened?
Right.
It was not what
So go back to it for a
Base was
second.
about like
Round.
Yeah.
So you're shooting for about 40 grand.
Which, I mean, how much is that going to dilute the brand? If a base Macan is 44, how much would offering a sports car at $38,000 or $39,000 dilute the?
Well, and I have to tell you, listen, I was a naysayer way back when the Cayenne was being announced, and I had said, "Oh my God, this is it! It's going to ruin Porsche."
Yeah.
And in fact, that whole segment of Porsche changed Porsche overnight, and it is what it is because of all that money.
Right.
So I tend to agree with you. It's not going to dilute it, but what would you, beside a shared platform, how would you see it? Would you see it front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, stick shift?
I would
you
love
see-
to see a rear-wheel drive car, but I don't think that's going to happen because of what Manny said. There is no platform that is going to give them that. So I think whatever it is, it's got to be a lightweight mid-engine car with a flat floor, something that weighs. It's funny that we talk about under 3,000 pounds is like being lightweight now, so the magic thing.
Right.
But it's got to be under 3,000 pounds. I agree with you. Minimal driver's aids. ABS is fine. I'd love to see it with manual steering.
Sure.
And it may be a shared platform from Volkswagen. So Volkswagen may offer something similar
Yeah.
to the car that Porsche is going to be selling.
Spread the costs across that. But I mean, manual steering would be wonderful. Alfa Romeo did it with the 4C not all that long ago. So it could be done, something that weighs 2,800 pounds. I think would be.
Do you see it as a hybrid or turbocharged?
I think you could offer it. I think you could offer it both ways. I think you could offer it as internal combustion and as an electric car. That would obviously break the 3,000 pound bank.
Right.
The battery weight, but we actually had some drawings commissioned by Lars Selzer a couple of years ago, what it would look like, and we sort of envisioned this sort of modern day 914, and I would love to see them go in that direction. I just have not a whole lot of confidence that it's on their radar.
So the three of us were kings of the world for a day, and so we make this happen. One of the other things you wanted to talk about today was sort of what Porsche did trying to find that young market. So this singer that we were all talking about and sort of appealing to the young market.
Yeah, Bob's referring to Dua Lipa, who is the spokesperson now for
Yeah,
Porsche. The new and
happily she can afford a new Porsche, but
Right.
most
Well,
other
the funny thing was, I asked some people, "Do you know who she is? And can you name one of her songs?"
Right.
And
Literally, I didn't know
Don,
who she
who's
was.
25,
until
like
this
Don was like, "I know who she is, but I can't name one of her songs." And I asked member services, and they were trying to think of one of her songs. So I guess we're going to learn who she is or whatnot. Obviously, very young, and the face of going to be the
Yeah,
face
she's
of Porsche.
27, and so she's going after that group that we've created this new car, and we've got to get to them to say, hey, this is a great car, do it. Is that the way you market it?
I don't know. Most Gen Zers and millennials are not pro athletes or pop stars.
Right.
And, that's really kind of the money that it takes, to buy, at least a GT car or something like that. I mean, I really think that, if they were to offer something, with a base price of $35,000, $36,000, $37,000, a very basic, two-seater mid-engine car, they would be able to attract that market. But right now, those people have no other choice but to go look at a Miata, look at a new Z, look at a BRZ or a GRE6. And that's a shame.
Or buy used Porsche,
Right.
pre-owned Porsche, which at 40,000 you can buy
A lot of Porsches.
a lot of Porsche, and that goes back to, I guess, our perspective stories, that we bought older cars that were out of warranty, that we were willing to live with an older car as our daily driver. I'm sure if you talk to Porsche, they're going to tell you a pre-owned is probably the entry-level car. I mean, for PCA, that's been our growth market, is pre-owned cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we do so many buyer guides, and we have Mark Fresh and whatnot to help people along as they look in the journey of buying a used Porsche.
But I mean, if you looked at the CPO site lately, I mean, $40,000 undercars are few and far between because Most people don't buy the base cars. And Porsches happen to retain a good chunk of their original value. They don't depreciate all that much, and the certification process adds to it. So,
But does that broaden Porsche's market? Does the let's say the 924S, does getting a Gen Zer to buy that, does that broaden their market the way Porsche would want to do it in terms of its brand and promoting it and expanding their worldwide domination?
well, those people tend to be pretty good with social media. And, the more people that you see in that demographic with new Porsches in their Instagram feed or something like that, yeah, I would say that it does. I think that it would. People you see autocrossing, this hypothetical new lightweight mid-engine Porsche that we were talking about. I think all that enhances the brand. So, but I'm a journalist, so don't listen to me.
That's all right. You bring up really great points. And I like the price point of 40 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right on the nose of where these folks, you're right out of college, you're 2 years into your profession or whatever. 40 grand is attainable.
Yeah, because that means 50 grand out the door,
Yeah, probably.
and that's still real. I mean, that's a great price point, I think, for a new Porsche.
But to Rob's point, that's a 1970 911T.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and which not everyone was buying. It wasn't like a deal that was still not a flown car,
Right.
but it was certainly affordable. But none of this, I think, is going to happen until the economy stabilizes, if you will. Because right now Porsche has no reason at all to build.
It's the best
theoretic
time to
entry-level
do it.
car.
No, I mean, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
How long does it take to develop a new
Yeah.
car? It's got to be 2 years
Yeah.
at least, even shared platform.
Right. I mean, these are, everything's cyclical, and these people know it. I mean, nobody, although in the past it was always amusing to watch the big three get caught flat-footed, having nothing but very thirsty SUVs when fuel prices went up. But, this would be a good time to do it because at some point, what goes up is going to come down.
All right, so the three of us will commit. Each of us will buy one of these new cars. So they've at least sold 3.
There you go.
I remember when the Boxer was announced, and then when it came out and people drove it, how many people said, "Well, I thought I was going to buy one, but it's not fast enough," or this is as slow as my 944. All these excuses because they were expecting. I guess they were expecting a turbo for the price of a Boxster.
Right.
And all I got to do is look back at the history of entry-level cars, and Porsches are always come out slow, if you will. They're not putting out the fastest car for their entry level.
Well, we're going to cross our fingers that it's
And-
the old Speedster.
And they're never going to build that again. I mean,
Right.
Like the no nannies part. The nannies now are all mandated. You can't really get no nannies. Everything's becoming mandated by the government. Think about it.
I think ABS is traction control.
Yes.
Okay, and so
Pretty sure traction control.
TPMS is
And I think lane departure now is going to soon be not already. It's mandated.
Okay.
All these things.
airbags are mandated.
Yeah, so it's
Backup
stuff
camera.
that, and that's why the cars are so heavy. That's why they'll never build a 2,000-pound car. At least Porsche won't, because and then people expect certain things. We think it would be cool to have wind-up windows, but
Yeah.
the non-enthusiast is going to be appalled that you paid $50,000 and you got wind your own windows up.
Has Bogdan ever seen non-wind up? I mean, it'd be kind of funny just to,
Never.
plug somebody down and, it's like, okay, can you get the window down in this car?
Right.
It's-
Right.
First time my
I'm sure
daughter
that
got
thing is
into
fine.
914, and she asked what the buttons were on the radio. And I said, that's how you pick your favorite radio stations.
Right.
And this is the old school one where you pull the
pull it out
pull the
and
knob
push it
out,
back
and you
in.
push it back in. That locks that station in. And I
That's
think
gotta
she
be
called it the
genius when you
most
think of
boring
it.
car in the world because she was used to riding, being like 8, 10 years old, used to riding in the Suburban that had the full entertainment system and everything in it. And here she was in a car that she had to roll the windows down, no air conditioning, and had a radio that was pretty.
Oh,
bad.
that's another thing. Air conditioning. I mean,
You got to have that.
you'd have
That's
to
a
have
must.
it.
But you
Well, I'm
don't-
sure they're going to have a Y-Sock edition, so they'll
Oh,
have
right,
the air
right,
conditioning
with
removed.
magnesium rims and
But you could do this. Just basically build me something that looks like a 914.6 GT. That's with the
But they're going to
17
save. They're going to save that for the special cars. They're going to build you. It's going to be a. I'm going to hate to use the word boring, But Porsche doesn't want you to stay in the entry level land. They want you to step up.
Right. So you can have the fender blisters and the plaid seats and all that happy stuff if you spend.
But to me, what it also does, it brings the market more available, because the people who the $50,000 car out the door is still unattainable, but in 3 years that car may be worth 10,000, 15,000 less.
Sure.
And now it becomes affordable.
Right.
And it's something I can pull off as a daily driver.
Well, and especially if they build enough of them. The devaluation curve is very steep for those first couple years.
But 911s now, where they're over $100,000, the non-S ones out the door, then that becomes harder and harder for someone like when Rob was 21 to buy a 911.
I mean, that used to be a house price. Now it's just a base 911 price.
Well, and the thing is, too, and I don't know why this has happened. I actually did a piece on this for the New York Times a year ago on just the phenomenon of depreciation, how it used to take a long time for cars to hit the bottom of the depreciation curve. And they'd sit there for a long time. 930s were, until 10 or 15 years ago, $35,000 cars.
Right.
Half or less of their original price, and they stayed there for a long time. 996 turbos were cheap for a long time.
Very cheap.
Now cars depreciate less, and they hit bottom faster, and they start appreciating faster.
Right.
And I don't know if that's gonna be the new normal or not. But right now, it makes it very difficult for anybody who wants to pick up something.
Well, and the allure and the attainability of Porsche has grown significantly over the last 5 years. All of a sudden, you see Porsche everything. Porsche SUV, Porsche Mini SUV, Porsche convertible, Porsche GT cars, Porsche whatever.
Yeah.
And so that depreciation, I think, is turning around, because the rest of the market is saying, hey, I really like that car. Look at the quality. It still looks great 10 years later. So I want to buy it.
So let us know in the comments what you think about what Porsche should be building as far as entry level, what price point it should be, what your
and if you would buy one. So we've got 3 sold.
I still submit that if you actually see the car, you probably won't want to buy it, because it will never make with your vision of an entry level car. And odds are you'll be disappointed when it comes out.
Yeah.
But that's the way I hate to say it, entry level cars are. They're always a compromise of sorts.
Right. And the first rule of an entry level car is don't make it so cool that you're going to cannibalize sales from whatever's up market.
Exactly. And
all the stuff that we're talking about certainly, I think, would make this thing cool enough that it would cannibalize 72 Boxster
so
sales.
We'll go to some upcoming, or not upcoming, they're out on the PCA YouTube channel. We finally posted Rolf's wheel dimensions and steering geometry from Tech Tactics East. As far as videos go, this is the least sexy. It was simply Robert set up the camera at our Tech Tactics event. But as far as content,
oh my gosh,
wow! It's if you read the comments, people went nuts over this masterclass Rolf put on about tires and the effects of wheels and the whole thing. And now when you look at people that put oversized tires, that Porsche basically put a lot of thought, and when they engineer what size wheel, what size tire goes with their cars, and why, and the sacrifices when you start upgrading or doing +1, +2. So I'd say about a 45-minute long class. It was exactly what the attendees got to see. If you are thinking about coming to one of these Tech Tactic events, we have the one in the West Coast, which is near Ontario. I think it's at the Volkswagen training facility. That's where they train the Porsche techs. That is November 17th and 18th, I think. So look it up. It's basically all day.
Tech Tactics up there, and we saw Rolf when he presented. And it goes back to the old thing is, Porsche actually knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. And they do things for a reason, and it's not random. What I always loved, and you and I know a bunch of these folks, these guys that are just simply smarter than Porsche. 50 guys sat around doing all the calculations for where this offset is supposed to be. But nope, I'm smarter. And so widen it, it'll be more stable.
We both race, so we know we're smarter than Porsche because we all changed our cars.
Right.
But with everything is sacrifice, and so I always tell people, it's when I hear you get the same ride or you get the same feeling, but it's going to be even better. You're giving up something. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You're not going to have that smooth ride 100% if you change your suspension to stiffer springs, sportier shocks. You're just going to have to give something up. But anyways, check it out on the YouTube channel, Porsche Club of America. It's surprisingly done very well. I say surprisingly because it wasn't filled with a lot of like gee whiz video stuff. It's just us recording his classroom
Well,
session.
she made it understandable.
Yes, no, it was a very
was
popular.
amazing.
Ralph has his own group of fanatics, and in between sessions, he was always surrounded by guys just peppering with questions, and he loves it. And he does this on his free time to come in on the weekend and do this for PC Mavericks. He really looks forward to it. He was so happy that we came back after COVID. And so when I asked him to review it, he was like, "Oh, great! I can't wait to see what people say." So we told him the whole idea of recording it is that more than the 125 people a day get to see this. It's so I think now it's over 2,400 views or something like that. Let's see. So we just released. Damon just finished editing the tour of the KW suspension factory in Germany. That's something that Vu and Ilko, our advertising director, went to Germany earlier this year, and they went to a lot of different of our sponsors, and they got a very cool tour. In this is the suspension, where they test the rig out. Mm-hmm. It's I think it's a set the up to 7-pole. Robert has his own
7-post
screen.
rig.
Yeah, 7-post. That's what it is.
Right.
I would love to play with this. First, I would have to understand exactly what I'm doing. But once that's done, it's really fascinating how they can set up shocks. And I think everyone needs to have this to be able to set up their shocks properly.
The most amazing thing about those rigs is you can put a car on the rig and then you can push a button and then the car is driving a particular racetrack.
Yeah.
And so you can set the car up, let's say, for Nürburgring, because with a rig like that, you've already pushed the button. It's already emulated every single bump and dive and everything about the track, and then you make adjustments before you get to the track.
Yeah, it's. I know Porsche has something similar for their engine dyno. I remember reading when they built the engine for the V-Rod for Harley Davidson. They did something from Rome to, I don't know, I'm going to mess it up, Switzerland or something like that, for the Alpine passes and everything, RPMs and
cool.
the torque load on this engine. And going really fast, and it passed the test. But I remember the same thing that you just said,
Right.
where the computer knew exactly all the gear changes, RPMs, and whatnot. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool video. If you like factory videos, which we've always got a good response for, this is one you got to watch. All right, let's switch to news. We talked about Dua Lipa signing the 7-figure deal with Porsche. But the really cool news is, of course, my favorite is Apple CarPlay. We used to rent cars, and the first thing we'd look to see whether or not it had Apple CarPlay. If it didn't, we didn't rent the car because it made life so much easier. It was so intuitive. And they're updating it, so now it can do even more, including controlling the HVAC, so heat and cooling, all from the CarPlay app. So that's pretty good news.
It's interesting though that Porsche is doubling down on it, and General Motors is saying we're done with Apple CarPlay. It's
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I don't know the details, but I sure love how easy Apple CarPlay is.
Yep.
I'm not a diehard Apple person. I don't follow their releases or not. But if something's easy to use, I don't have to sit there and try to figure it out. Which on some rental cars, you're sitting there for like 20 minutes, saying it shouldn't be this hard to figure out how to use navigation.
Yeah.
And I hear, well, once you get used to it, I'm like, see, I shouldn't have to get used to it. It should be very intuitive. But if you have Apple CarPlay, you probably want to check into this because I think you can upgrade it. So Porsche's opened up their first Porsche studio. I think this is out in Oregon. Did you see that? It's so they talk about it being the future of dealerships.
So you come in, you design your car.
Yeah, it's not a lot full of cars. It's like right downtown. It's like a boutique shop, so you can just come in
Portland or
hang
something?
out. The first one's in Portland, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, it's where you can come in, configure your car. It's. I think they're trying to get away, because people complain about dealers and how it's all high pressure. You always have your stereotypical sleazy salesman and blah blah blah. This is if you're watching a YouTube version, you're seeing some of the screenshots of the studio. It's very hip, very modern. Doesn't look like a place where you would sit down and be stressed out about what options you should get.
Well, the dealers
No,
will
it's
love
very important.
this after investing in level 5 dealerships.
Yeah, well, this is. I think this is has somewhat to do with Tesla.
Oh,
And now Tesla showed that you don't need a dealer, especially with the new generation. They like ordering things right off the phone. So and it's going to be fun to watch as they open more and more around the country. But if you're in Portland, I would encourage you to stop by and let us know what you think of.
Yeah, what
the
we're
Porsche studio.
Right,
It's downtown.
Because Monty Shelton's old Jaguar dealership is gone. Well, Burnside.
Now you're aging yourself.
What?
Now you're aging yourself.
That wasn't that long ago. It was like in the last 5 years, 10 years.
So the big news, and a lot of people email me or text me like I knew the answer. Kjell Bruner abruptly left Porsche, and of course they're asking me why. I'm like, I have no idea. He didn't call me up to let me know.
so bring everybody up to speed, Manny.
What we don't know. He just
Well,
left.
and what he did.
He
et
just
cetera.
left.
Okay.
They just announced that he was leaving, and they have no replacement. I mean, you have temporary replacement. Joe Lawrence.
He's the CEO of Porsche Cars in North
CEO.
America.
Just in case you didn't know.
Yes. Everyone should know the CEO, like the Pope.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm waiting for the lightning to strike.
Yeah, Kjell was. He's been a fixture for the past couple of years at parades and big PCA events. He like past CEOs, he's very friendly with PCA, but it's very unusual to see a CEO leave like this.
Yeah, it's not like Klaus Zellwer's departure where you knew he was going to
He
Skoda.
stayed, he stayed within the
stayed
family.
for- Yeah,
He became a
exactly.
CEO
How long
of
was
Skoda.
Cal at the helm?
4 years?
4.
3-4 years.
It was, I think Klaus was 5. Usually that's the term 5, I think, before they make a change. So it will be interesting to, it'll be strange at Rennsport that they don't have a CEO, because usually the CEO is very prominent at Rennsport, especially with they do this tapping of the keg, which signifies the opening of Rennsport on Thursday.
Now I know what that
I
all
joked. I
is.
said we're going to get a 6-pack for our tent at Rennsport and open up the 6-pack at 10 o'clock. If we can't make it over to the main stage. Yeah, it's we really don't know why, and everyone in the industry, you could tell from the LinkedIn comments from the employees that I think they are equally shocked.
So they have 2 months.
I don't know
Basically
if they're
to
going to be able
replace
to.
him for
Yeah,
Rennsport.
yeah, I think they were surprised too. It's just, I mean, he came into a very successful company. He left a very successful company. It'll be interesting if he stays in the industry or not, or if he goes to a competitor. Yeah, some people say Mercedes. My gut tells me not Mercedes. It's got to be. It's got to be something worthwhile to leave Porsche for. But I don't think it'll be GM or the big three, or one of the new upstart electric companies, maybe.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to watch. Let's see, upcoming PCA events. Works Monterey registration is still open. We still have spots. I think if we haven't sold out, we're very close to selling out the Judge. We still have corral spaces open. Even with the Rennsport reunion coming like a month later, Works is still very popular. The first time that happened, we were very nervous that it would take people away from Works, but that year, back in 2018, we sold out Works, so I'm sure we're going to sell it out again this year. Registration for volunteering for Rennsport reunion is still open. You can can take up to 600 volunteers. You get a volunteer-only T-shirt, very cool T-shirt, and an event poster. If you work at least one shift, and I think the shift is between 3 and 4 hours, it's a great place to hang out with fellow enthusiasts. You'll either be helping us park cars inside the track, or working in the Porsche Platz, which is the old Cayman Island, which there'll be a lot going on. But yeah, PCA is famous for its volunteers, and Porsche relies on us to provide a army of them to pull off rent sports. So if you are coming to the event and you want to help out, just hop over to the registration page. The PCA Open House is September 9th, and it's in Columbia, Maryland. Obviously, you both come to our open house.
Of course.
And I'm sure this year it's going to be just as big. It's usually catered by Mission Barbecue. So if anything, you get a free lunch, which is a great deal. They always have a lot of giveaways, sales on merchandise. The famous Vogue Win tour of the national office. I always joke that I'm going to sneak in the Manny reality tour. It's not the national office. But yeah, if you never experienced the Vogue Win version, that's something you should register. And please register. Don't think you just can show up because they have to know how much food to order. So it doesn't take anything to register. It doesn't cost anything. Just spend 3 minutes to go register on Motorsport Ridge. The Fall Treffen, Gateway to the West. It's essentially St. Louis area at the Ritz-Carlton. Registration is still open for that, so I have some spots available. If you're asking what Treffen is, well, it's 4 days of tours. Basically, you all meet in the morning. They give you breakfast. You set up with your tour group. You go driving all day. They provide you lunch. Do some more driving. Come back, and in the evening we all get together and we have dinner. So it's a great.
Are you going?
No,
Oh.
unless you said nothing.
Okay.
Should sneak in. This will be great travel. And this literally is my old neighborhood. This is Clayton, Missouri. I live.
Well, you were having a Rob Sass reality tour,
Yeah.
The Treffen tour, right?
where Rob
Yeah.
Sass came into puberty.
No, back when I was a lifetime ago when I was practicing law, my office was in Clayton. I lived there. I lived basically across the street from the Host Hotel, and it's really an underrated city. I think everybody will have a great time.
And it is the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, that's a great thing about Treffen is that it's a couples event. It's not
Yeah.
a parade, it's a family event. This is more of a couples event, and they want to make sure that your non-driving or maybe not as car-loving partner has as much fun. And so they've always had a great idea of doing it at a 4 or 5 star resort, which I thought was always a great idea because I've enjoyed some days not driving, just hanging out by the pool or inside a resort. And the Hampton Inn, as much as I like Hampton Inns, doesn't cut it. It's got to be something nicer. So.
Rob, you should probably be the special guest.
I probably should.
Yeah, I
Be
think
the,
you have a little statue.
Missouri tour guide. But no, I mean, it's the Host Hotel is really well located. There are all sorts of restaurants, bars, shops, and everything in walking distance, and it's a very safe part of St. Louis. So I think everybody should have a good time.
All right. Well, I think next week we may not be able to do it next week either. So next week I think he's trying to go to Goodwood.
Wow.
Yeah, trying.
Right.
Yeah.
So from grabbing balls all the way up to Goodwood.
Yeah, I don't think he got into the ball boy position as much as he tried. He saw his 5K times at parade, and
Right.
yeah, he didn't cut it.
And what was that, 34 minutes?
But his wife has center court tickets.
Ah.
But I guess she politely explained to him that he is not a tennis enthusiast, so he can hang around Wimbledon, but he can't go to center court. So he was planning to do a tour of the different food, and so I think Boo may come back a little heavier because of sacrificing his seat. So
The
his
5K
wife
time
and his
will go
former
up to
friend
40
can go.
minutes.
Well, I think he did it in 34 minutes, and I said that is on the cusp of walking.
Yeah.
That's not the. I mean, I have no room to say because I didn't wake up that early to do the 5K run. At least I wasn't crazy enough to do it in the heat of Palm Springs. But, anyways, yeah, I think next week he's doing Goodwood, which is the festival speed, which I think they're going. You haven't got any notice yet of any secret thing you're not allowed to talk about.
No.
No,
No.
because there's rumors I read that there might be the ST.
Oh, really?
but I haven't heard anything else, and we're getting close.
The worldwide introduction?
Yes.
Why not Rennsport?
Well, that I would hope. There's going to be, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some interesting reveals at Rennsport. So, because remember the last time around, I'm pretty sure
They
they
did
didn't.
935, right?
Well, they did 935, but they also did a 992. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the 992 would debut in either North American or was
No, North American debut was in Los Angeles in 992.
they brought a Porsche out to,
Yeah.
or was it just a Rennsport edition?
Could have been Rennsport edition because the world debut of the 992 was in L.A. and the presenter was a now disgraced actor whose name I will not mention. But
No.
yeah,
Start with Kevin.
no.
That's exactly what I was going to guess. Okay.
What's it rhyme with?
I'm sure it's I'm sure it's something that nobody at PCA really
So
knows.
many disgraced actors. Anyway, so
All right, it was Army Hammer. Okay, so
Okay.
no, I would have guessed that.
Me neither.
Google.
No. Yeah, no, it's so okay. So, anyways, so next week you're gonna have you're not gonna have Bill. You're still gonna have me. So hopefully we haven't lost half our audience by the time Bill gets back. Between our technical problems that Rob
Or
has
these
managed to pull
terrible guests that you have on there.
off. So I'm at a budget. I can't
Right.
pay people to come anymore.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, if you are
swear with Fu not here.
or you can swear all you want, just make it life difficult for Robert because he's got to edit all of it out.
All right.
If you are a current PCA member and you own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Be sure to have your VIN handy and you too can join the PCA, the Porsche Club of America. If you don't have a Porsche and you're looking for one, join our test drive program. Just go to www.pca.org. The test drive is almost like the loophole to join PCA. Because you get everything a regular PCA member. You get the magazine, you get access to the classifieds. You just can't vote, so you won't be able to determine
How long can
the
you test
president.
drive?
I don't think they have maybe 1 year.
Okay.
1 year, but can you renew again? You can renew. Robert's telling us you can renew.
Okay.
How much? Remind people. How much is test drive?
Same price.
That's the same price. Okay, so we're not cannibalizing any.
Yes, and we won't treat
Yeah.
you like a second drive citizen, so you don't have to wear like a test drive member on your forehead or
You
anything.
can go to events.
Yeah, you can go to events and everything.
No, you can't. You can't go to events.
You can't go to
No, you
events.
can't.
Well, you can't go to national
National events.
like parade.
You
I
can
think
go-
parade's the
yeah.
only event you can't go to, but that's already happened. Everything else you can. So let's see. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page to see some behind-the-scenes photos and videos. Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can message us or email us at podcast@pca.org, or simply comment on our YouTube podcast video. We read all the comments. If you want to stay in touch with all things PCA, remember to subscribe to our free newsletter at pca.org newsletters. And Rob will tell you, please subscribe to Mark Fresh, because that's his baby. So, anything else, guys?
I've got nothing.
All right.
Great time
thanks,
as usual.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks to you, Robert, again, for pulling this off, because I would have been there with my iPhone,
Right.
passing it around.
Thanks for guest hosting, Manny.
All right, until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you down the road.